A man fell out of a jetliner and won. It's a cold, rainy Thanksgiving Eve, 1971. A Boeing 727 is climbing into the black sky over the Pacific Northwest. In the back of that plane, a man in a business suit clips on a parachute, walks down a staircase that drops out of the belly of the aircraft, and steps into the freezing night at 10,000 feet. That's about 3,000 meters straight down into a storm. He's carrying $200,000 in cash. He has never been seen again. Not his body, not his parachute, not one fingerprint that anyone could match. Here's the part that should stop you cold. This is the only unsolved airplane hijacking in the entire history of the United States. The FBI ran one of the longest manhunts it has ever conducted. Over 800 suspects, 45 years of files, and they closed the case with nothing. Now ask yourself this: how does a man jump out of a passenger jet in mid-air in a thunderstorm and simply erase himself from the planet? And why could he only do it on this exact airplane? Stay with me. Rewind to Portland, Oregon. The afternoon of November 24th, 1971. A quiet man buys a one-way ticket under the name Dan Cooper. Middle-aged, dark hair, a dark suit, a thin black tie. The kind of man you'd forget the second he walked past you. He boards Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305, headed for Seattle. He orders a bourbon and soda. He hands the flight attendant a note. She slips it into her pocket unread. She figures it's a lonely businessman passing her his number. Cooper leans over. "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." Picture that. The man beside you opens a briefcase, and inside is a tangle of red cylinders and wires. That's exactly what she saw. The demand was simple: $200,000, 4 parachutes. And one more thing nobody understood yet, a thing about the airplane itself that made all of this possible. So why this plane? Why the Boeing 727 and not any other jet in the sky that year? Here's what most people never realize. This jet had a feature almost no other airliner had: a door in its tail. Underneath the rear of the fuselage, between the body and that famous T-shaped tail, sat a set of stairs that folded down out of the belly. Engineers call it the ventral air stair. Boeing built it for a good reason. In the early 60s, this jet was designed to fly into small regional airports. No jet bridges, no boarding ramps, nothing. So Boeing gave it its own staircase. It could land in the middle of nowhere, drop its stairs out of the tail, and let passengers walk straight down to the tarmac. Smart, practical, self-sufficient. It helped make the 727 the best-selling jetliner of its era. But Boeing had built a door into the back of an airplane, and it never once occurred to them that someone might want to open it in flight. Flight 305 lands in Seattle, and now comes a strange, almost polite negotiation. Cooper lets all 36 passengers go free. He keeps the pilots, the flight engineer, and one flight attendant. The FBI hands over a bag with 10,000 $20 bills, $200,000. Every serial number had been secretly photographed first. They also hand over 4 parachutes. And here's a detail investigators still chew on. Why 4? Cooper was jumping alone. Some believe he asked for 4 on purpose, so the FBI would assume he might force a crew member to jump too, and wouldn't dare sabotage a single chute. Think about that. A man who'd thought it through. The plane refuels. Then Cooper gives his flight plan. Fly south toward Mexico City, landing gear down, flaps at 15 degrees, cabin unpressurized, and fly slow as this jet can go without falling out of the sky. Every instruction had a purpose. He was setting the airplane up to jump out of. Now run the numbers on what he asked for. It all points one direction. He wanted the 727 flying at the absolute edge of a stall, barely above the speed where the wings stop working. Why? Because a man stepping into a slipstream at 500 miles an hour gets torn apart. Cooper wanted that wind down to a survivable crawl, around 100 knots. He wanted the plane low, around 10,000 feet, about 3,000 meters, so the cold and the thin air wouldn't kill him before the ground could. And he wanted that rear staircase free to open. Here's the cruel genius of it. On the 727, that ventral air stair could be lowered in flight. The airflow under the tail let it hang down into the wind like a diving board. No other major airliner handed a hijacker a private exit ramp at the back of the plane, far from the engines, with a clean drop into open air. He wasn't just hijacking a jet, he was using the one machine on Earth built to let him do exactly this. Around 7:40 in the evening, somewhere over the dark forests of southwest Washington, the crew up front feels it, a bump. The tail of the airplane suddenly pitches, then settles. Their ears pop hard. The cabin pressure gauge jumps. They radio back to ask Cooper if he needs anything. Silence. He's already gone. Picture what that actually looked like. Pitch black, pouring rain, wind howling up an open staircase. A man in a business suit and a thin raincoat, with a sack of cash strapped to his body, stepping off the bottom step into nothing. No helmet, no jumpsuit, no light, just the roar of two jet engines fading above him and 10,000 feet of freezing air below. Would you do it? Could anyone? The plane flew on to Reno, Nevada, and landed with that rear staircase still scraping along behind it, sparks dragging on the runway. They opened the cabin, empty. 8 cigarette butts in an ashtray, a clip-on tie left on a seat, and 2 of the 4 parachutes gone. And here's where the legend begins. The FBI launched a manhunt, codenamed NORJAK, Northwest Hijacking. They calculated a drop zone. They flew the same plane at the same speed and pushed sandbags out the back to time the fall. Agents combed the forests of southwest Washington on foot. They dragged a lake. They searched for the body, the parachute, the cash, anything. They found nothing. Not a shred. Years passed. The case turned into folklore. People claimed to be him. Over 800 suspects were chased down and ruled out, one by one. And the strangest thing? For almost a decade, the Earth simply kept his secret. No hunter stumbled on a skeleton. No hiker found a tattered chute in a tree. The Pacific Northwest, crawling with loggers and campers, swallowed a man whole and never gave back a single bone. Then, in February of 1980, a break. An 8-year-old boy named Brian Ingram is on a family trip to the Columbia River at a sandy stretch called Tina Bar. He's smoothing the sand to build a campfire, and his fingers hit something. Bundles of rotting $20 bills packed in tight rubber-banded stacks. $5,800 in decaying cash. The FBI checks the serial numbers against that secret list from 1971. They match. This is Cooper's money. After 9 years, the river had finally coughed up a piece of the puzzle. But think about what it really proved. Almost nothing. Was the money buried there by Cooper himself? Washed down from the drop zone by floods? Did he survive the jump? Or did the river carry the cash off a dead man? Each theory falls apart the moment you push on it. The single biggest clue in the entire case only made the mystery deeper. And the other $194,000? Never found. Not one bill has surfaced in over 50 years. Now here's the part that changes how you'll see every airplane you ever board again. Cooper didn't just vanish. He left a fingerprint on aviation itself. Within a year, more than a dozen copycats tried the exact same trick. Note, bomb threat, parachutes, ransom, jump out the back of a 727. One of them, in 1972, demanded $500,000 and 4 parachutes, almost a carbon copy. The airlines panicked. So Boeing engineers built a device so simple, it's almost funny. A small spring-loaded paddle, a little metal wedge, bolted to the outside of that rear air stair. On the ground, it hangs loose, and the stairs work fine. But the instant the plane is moving fast through the air, the rushing wind shoves that paddle flat and physically jams the staircase shut. You cannot lower it in flight, ever. They named it the Cooper vane. The FAA ordered it onto every 727 in the country. One anonymous man in a business suit forced an entire industry to redesign its airplanes, and his name is literally bolted to the fix. So who was he? After 45 years, in 2016, the FBI did something it almost never does. It officially closed the case. No arrest, no body, no verdict. Just a quiet admission that they were out of leads. To this day, nobody knows if Dan Cooper landed softly and walked away a free, rich man, or smashed into a dark forest and was eaten back into the soil. Both are possible. Neither is proven. And maybe that's exactly why we can't let it go. We've mapped the ocean floor. We track every jet on Earth in real time. We solved MH370 down to the last theory. But one man, one suitcase, one open door in the belly of a Boeing, and the sky just closed up behind him. He didn't beat the FBI. He beat the airplane. And then he beat the ground. The 727 gave him a door. The night took the rest.